Wall clock is showing 9 a.m., so let's get moving. Welcome to the September meeting of the Local Planning Agency Board for Pinellas County, Florida. Today's public hearing by the Local Planning Agency, or LPA, is being held to review zoning requests, land use plan amendment requests, and other items relative to the county's planning and growth management program. The LPA is an independent advisory board charged with reviewing and making recommendations to the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners on the cases that are heard today. The Board of County Commissioners will make the final decision on each case as separate public hearing, and currently it is on a special set for October the 31st, 2023 at 9:30 in the morning. That's important. Normally they meet at 6 in the evening, but because it's Halloween, the BOCC will be heard at 9:30 in the morning on October the 31st. Procedures for today. For each case heard today, staff will make a brief presentation not to exceed 20 minutes. The applicant will then present their case, again, not to exceed 20 minutes. We will then hear from proponents, who will have 3 minutes each, unless they are representing a group of 5 or more, in which case the speaker will be granted 10 minutes. Non-speakers must be present and waive their time in order to get the 10-minute block. We will then hear from opponents, who will also receive 3 minutes each, unless representing a group of 5 or more, in which case that speaker will be given 10 minutes. Non-speakers, again, must be present and waive their time. Then the applicant will be given the opportunity to answer questions, respond to any concerns raised by the opponents or proponents, and that's a time period not to exceed 5 minutes. Before your presentation, please give your name and address for the record. All testimony today needs to be under oath, so if you have not sworn in already and you plan to testify, please rise now and be sworn. Do we have anyone in the room who intends to speak today who has not taken an oath? It does not appear that we have anyone who needs to take an oath at this time. Also, please fill out the slip on the table and present it to the clerk before you speak. There will not be continuing rebuttal, so please try to present all information and concerns while you're at the podium. If you plan to provide letters, written comments, studies, or other documents in response to the LPA's findings and recommendations, those must be received by the Planning Department 15 days prior to the Board of County Commissioners meeting in order to be included with the record that will be transmitted to the Board of County Commissioners. Also, please note that the October BCC meeting will be held at 333 Chestnut Street in the Palm Room until further notice. So not at this location, at Court Street. It will be held at 333 Chestnut Street in the Palm Room. And with that, we'll move on to the first item in our agenda, which is going to be the approval of the minutes. Do the board members have any discussion on the minutes?
No.
All right. In that case, I will entertain a motion.
Move approval of the July 12th minutes.
Second.
Motion by Cooley, second by Laurie Johnson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. And the motion passes unanimously. All right, we're now moving into the public hearing items, and we will start with item 3A1, and this is FLU 23-05, 4685 Park Street LLC, and this is a request for a change of land use from RU Residential Urban to CG Commercial General on approximately 0.19 acres. Located at 4685 Park Street North in West Lellman through Christopher Mitchell, Mitchell Construction Group. All right, staff, you may proceed when ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the LPA. I'm Molly Court on behalf of Pinellas County Housing and Community Development. Before you are cases numbers FLU-23-05 and ZON-2306. The subject property is 1.58 acres at 4685 Park Street North in Wellman. The subject amendment area is 0.19 of an acre.
There it is.
Oh, okay. This is a request for a future land use amendment from RU Residential Urban to CG Commercial General. Additionally, there's a companion zoning case to rezone from R4, 1, 2, and 3 family residential to E2 Employment 2. The site is currently vacant, and the owner would like to redevelop the site for the purpose of RV and boat storage. There is a concept plan that is in your packet, but it is not binding to the application, just for a reference. This is an aerial image of the property that you see on your screen. It's fronted off of Park Street. It's a 4-lane divided arterial roadway, and it's approximately 1,950 feet south of the intersection of Tyrone Boulevard. Again, this is just the future land use map change request from RU to CG, just reflecting the existing and the proposed map. Again, this is the zoning map reflecting the proposed change from R4 to E2. Just a little bit of history on this parcel. Historically, the property was used as a towing yard. It was known as Merton Knight Towing in the late 1990s. The previous property owner originally obtained approval for a zoning and future land use change back in 2001 to amend 0.18 acres of the adjacent north half, which is reflected in the map to your right, for the expansion of the former impound yard. I've provided more images of the impound site from 2002 and 2005. Just regarding the surrounding uses, there is a lot of a mix of retail, offices, warehousing, and residential uses. As you can see within the image before you, there's a contractor's office to the north, which is the Florida Solar LLC. There's multifamily that is to the northeast. I've even included a little box just reflecting the proposed amendment area. There's a chiropractic office to the south. And across Park Street, there is a mix of warehousing and retail. The current RU land use designation allows residential, agriculture, institutional, office, and rec open space uses. It allows 7.5 residential units per acre and 0.4 floor area ratio for non-residential uses. The proposed CG land use designation allows retail, residential, as long as it's not in the coastal storm area, office, storage and warehousing, light manufacturing, commercial recreation, institutional, and other commercial business services. Again, the CG land use allows a 0.55 floor area ratio for non-residential uses. The potential traffic impacts are 264 additional trips. However, those were calculated under the retail land use type. The current R4 zoning, it allows single-family, two-family, three-family dwellings, single-family attached townhomes, and other accessory uses. The maximum building height is 35 feet. The setbacks within that zoning district are 20 feet for the front, 6 feet for the sides, and 10 feet for the rear. The proposed E2 zoning district would allow more general service type uses, storage and light fabrication activity. The maximum building height would be 75 feet or 45 feet for the portions of the building within 50 feet of a residentially zoned property, which would apply in this case. The setbacks would be 5 feet for the front. The sides would be 20 feet for the property to the north and also to the east, and 0 feet for the south as it abuts commercial. To reiterate, Park Street is a 4-lane divided arterial roadway. There's retail, office, and warehouse uses that are to the northwest and south. And again, there is detached single-family and multifamily development that's to the northeast and east. There is a low flood risk with this property. It's not located in the coastal high hazard area. It's in an evacuation zone B. And then just to kind of just give you a little bit more information about, again, this case, this really is a Scribner's error. We don't know why this property is not fully zoned E2 or has the future land use designation of CG to that 0.19 of the acre. Just so everyone is aware, this really is a Scribner's error. And our recommendation for the proposed land use amendment to RU to CG, again, it's located on Park Street. It is designated as a scenic non-commercial corridor. It's further subclassified as an enhancement connector. Development along this corridor is not exclusively non-commercial, and it's typically categorized within the residential, mixed-use, commercial, industrial, or public, semi-public plan classifications on a countywide future land use map plan. It would consolidate the entire parcel into one flume category. The companion zoning case, ZON-23-06, supports the proposed use, and it's also consistent with the comprehensive plan. The Development Review Committee recommended approval on this matter back on August 14th. And the proposed zoning amendment from R4 to E2, it would allow surrounding mixture of commercial, office, employment, industrial, and residential uses. It would consolidate the entire parcel within one zoning district. The subject property fronts an arterial roadway. The companion land use case, FLU-23-05, would support the proposed use. It's also consistent with the comprehensive plan. And the Development Review Committee recommended approval on this matter back on August 14th. So just regarding those two cases, the date for the Board of County Commissioners hearing would occur on October 31st, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. in the Palm Room. So, and I'm here to take any questions related to the cases.
All right, thank you. Board members, do you have any questions for staff?
Just one, Madam Chair.
All right.
What performance standards would be in place for the residential to the east?
From what I could tell, we would have to incorporate, and again, this would be done through, some type of site plan review. They would have to incorporate a 6-foot high opaque fence or a 10-foot wide landscaping buffer. So,
Great, thank you.
yep, you're welcome.
Madam Chair, there is a statement on the agenda phase. There wasn't a time slot for it about the quasi-judicial standard for the two rezonings we have today. I have been reading that into the record in the BAA hearings. I didn't know if you want me to read it into the record today as to the evidence standard for QJ. She's now done her presentation for really both the matters. And we have two rezonings today. I can read it if you'd like for me to.
Understood. Council, please proceed with the statement.
Okay. The rezoning matters heard by the local planning agency are quasi-judicial in nature. Please note that only competent, substantial, fact-based testimony or evidence may be considered by the board in deciding the matters before it. Pure speculation or opinion, not based on competent facts, cannot be legally considered by the board. Lay testimony with fact-based support, including but not limited to meeting minutes, surveys, engineering reports, etc., may be considered competent and substantial evidence. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Board members, do you have any other questions for staff at this time? All right. In that case, thank you for the presentation. Do we have the applicant present? All right. Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 20 minutes to present.
My name is Christopher Mitchell. I'm presenting on 4685 Park Street North and to zoning and development that we're going to want to do for a RV and boat storage. I think she stated it best. I don't think there's really much more than I can add to that, so I think she said it all for me, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Board members, do you have any questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we will take anyone from the public who wishes to speak in support of application FLU 23-05. Is there anyone in the room who wishes to speak in support of application FLU 23-05? Seeing none, is there anybody online who wishes to speak in support of application FLU 23-05?
Good morning. We have no citizens online.
Okay. Now, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to application FLU 23-05 or ZON 23-06. I apologize for lumping them together. I should have with the supporters. So, anyone wish to speak in opposition to FLU 23-05 or ZON 23-06? Seeing none in the room, I'm going to check online one more time. Anyone
We
in
have no
opposition?
citizens online.
All right. Applicant, do you have anything else you wish to state before we go on to our discussion decision?
No, not at all. Thank you.
All right. Board members, do you have any final questions for the applicant or for staff?
Excuse me, I just have one, and probably best directed to staff. You said Scribner's error, I just don't know what that is, so can you explain what that means?
Sure. So this was an interesting case where most of the property had an E2 zoning, and for some reason, this northeastern part of the property had a residential zoning and future land use tied to it. We couldn't necessarily figure out why this piece was residentially zoned. The countywide maps too even reflected a larger part of that area that was had a residential classification to it. I had checked with Forward Pinellas. I had even checked with somebody from GIS. There was apparently some type of, I don't know if there was some type of land use activity that had occurred on this property back in the 90s. We have like no information about it, but it seemed to be some type of technical error just as to why this property wasn't fully zoned E2 and had a full future land use classification of CG. So we don't know why. This is really just to correct those issues and make the parcel into one full zoning and future land use category, just to be consistent. So
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Staff and record, so am I correct in understanding that you view this as an action to clean up the future land use and zoning maps?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Board members, do we have any other questions for staff or anyone? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on application FLU 23-05? All right. Seeing none with that, I'll entertain a motion on application FLU 23-05.
Move staff recommendation for approval.
Motion by Cueva,
Second.
second by Coleman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes unanimously. All right. Item 3A2, ZON 23-06. I know staff presented in a combined manner, so I assume staff does not have any additional presentation. All right. Applicant, I know that we've been handling this in a combined manner, but do you have anything you wish to say for ZON 23-06, so the zoning portion of your application? All right. Thank you. All right, are there any members of the public who wish to speak in support of application ZON 23-06? I don't see any. Anyone online?
No, we have no one online.
All right. Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to ZON 23-06? I don't see any in the room. Anybody online?
Again, no one online.
All right. So with that, board members, do you have any final questions or discussion for application ZON 23-06? All right, in that case, I will entertain a motion.
Recommend staff approval.
Motion by Cueva,
Second.
second by Laurie Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes unanimously. All right, we are now moving on to to item 3A3, and that's FLU 23-03, Community Assisted and Supported Living, Inc. This is a request for a change of land use from RS to residential suburban to RL, residential low, on approximately 2.79 acres located at 13,000 Park Boulevard in unincorporated Seminole through Katie Cole Esquire and Angela Robert Esquire, Hill Ward Henderson, as well as Robert Pergolesi, AICP, PTP, Gulf Coast Consulting Incorporated representatives. All right, so staff, There is a companion application, ZON 23-03. Does staff intend to give a combined presentation or separate?
They will be combined.
All right. Applicant,
One issue.
okay, one moment.
Just wanted to put on the record, before we begin the discussion of these cases, I had a discussion at an event not long ago with an attorney, Brian Onks Jr., who was an attorney representing one of the parties. I don't know who, but had mentioned that his client no longer seemed to have an issue with the request based on updated setbacks. So I wanted to put that on the record.
Mr. McAteer, do you have?
That's sufficient. If someone wishes to ask him about that later in the hearing, they can ask for a clarification, but he's put it on the record.
All right.
Identified who he spoke to and what about, so.
And Madam Chair, how we've handled these in the past, these what I call bifurcated cases. We have one presentation for both the zoning and the land use. And also you can call up any supporters or people in opposition at the same time for both cases.
Okay,
So that would make the process quicker.
understood. Applicant, I assume you're okay with giving one presentation for both FLU 23-03 and ZON 23-03? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I heard a yes, that's correct from Ms. Robber. Okay, so we will have one hearing for both of these cases, and then we'll have two separate votes. So when I call for proponents or opponents, please come up and speak. If you wish to speak on either 23-03 or ZON 23-03. Now with that, staff may proceed when ready.
Okay, if we have the PowerPoint, please. All right, thank you. Okay. As the chair stated, this is presentation for case numbers FLU 2303 and ZON 2303. The subject property, this current request is 2.79 acres located at 13,000 Park Boulevard, unincorporated Seminole. It's a future land use map amendment request from residential suburban, 2.5 units per acre, to residential low, 5 units per acre. It's also, and the zoning atlas amendment request is from RE residential estate to RMCO, multifamily residential conditional overlay with a development agreement. You see that was, you heard this, this case back in May, just a little background, and you voted to continue this case to this date in order to provide the applicant time to come up with and submit a development agreement, and they have done so. So that's the main difference with this iteration. They have a development agreement proposed now, and I'll get more into that in a moment. Existing use in the property is single-family home and accessory structures, and proposed use is multifamily for persons with developmental disabilities. Again, here's some case history. I just mentioned on May 10th, you continued the current cases to allow the applicant time to include a development agreement. And before that, there was different cases that went to public hearings in 2022 and early 2023. It was an identical future land use map amendment request, which was case number FLU 2204. And it was a similar zoning amendment request, which is case number ZON 2205. There's a couple of big differences now. One of those is, as Mr. Cooley mentioned, there's an increased rear setback that went from 120 feet, which was proposed earlier, to 200 feet now. And also, of course, it includes a development agreement. LPA recommended denial in those two cases, and the BCC denied the future land use map request without prejudice, and the zoning case was moot. And the denial was based on compatibility concerns with properties to the south and east, and the two changes to the zoning amendment case are basically meant to address those issues, the long, wider setback in the rear and the development agreement. So this current request, the conditional overlay is essentially the same as it was before, except for the larger rear setback. There's a maximum of 20 residential dwelling units, and that would also require, to get to 20, you would have to have a affordable housing density bonus. I'll get to that also in a few moments. Without that, you can have a maximum of 14 based on the land use itself, the RL land use, and the acreage of the property. Be a combination of 1 and 2 bedroom units and new single-story attached residential structures, duplex, triplex structures, independent housing for a maximum of 24 persons with developmental disabilities defined by Florida statutes. Supportive housing services will be included for on-site residents only. The existing 2-story home would remain, and the required setbacks will meet or exceed those of the existing RE district. That'd be 25-foot front, 15-foot sides, and 200 feet rear. And normal side setbacks in the RM district, which they're requesting, would be 10 feet front and 5 feet sides and rear. So these are much larger setbacks through this conditional overlay. And the development agreement basically reinforces the conditions and restrictions of the conditional overlay. And most importantly, it makes the concept plan binding. It has to be in substantial conformance with that concept plan. If the, like the retention pond needs to change shape a little bit, move a little bit, that's okay. But the buildings have to be substantially in the same location as they're showing now. It could be maybe a few feet off here and there based on site plan constraints. But it is binding, whereas before it was not. And the development agreement also requires a deed restriction prior to certificate of occupancy building permits. And that deed restriction would make the concept plan binding in perpetuity. It can only be changed or removed by the Board of County Commissioners. And that would be current ownership, future ownership, doesn't matter. So it runs with the land. You see the location of such a property, Park Boulevard, the 4-lane divided arterial to the north. You see in a commercial node area of Park Boulevard where you have retail and office uses to the north and to the west. And then you have residential uses to the south and to the east, and what I call large lots in the RE zoning district, which has 32,000 square foot minimum lot size requirements. Other residential uses or zoning districts in there you can see have smaller lot size requirements. That's across Park Boulevard to the north and to the west. You can see the smaller lot sizes there. There's also a smattering of institutional type uses. You got schools, cemeteries in this area as well, so it's kind of a mixture of uses. You have an ALF, assisted living facilities, and other types of various institutional uses. You see the future land use map, the existing residential suburban and the beige-like color on the left, and the change to the RE, or not the RE, but the residential low, kind of the yellowish gold color on the right is what they're proposing. You see there's both of those, both RS and RL, it's predominant in this map in this area. So it's not an outlier. You can see the red is the commercial general land use, and the blue is institutional land use. And for the zoning atlas, on the left is the existing RE zoning district, in the 32,000 square foot lot size minimum. It's kind of an estate style, single family homes. And on the right, you see the RM, residential multifamily request, and the CO. The conditional overlay is the hash lines, the diagonal lines there. You can see the C2 is commercial retail zoning, and the lighter pinkish color is C1. That's the neighborhood commercial zoning, which allows more limited types of retail, but it would allow things like restaurants, basic retail, banks, things like that. And immediately to the left or to the west is office, and that's a medical office facility there currently. And the blue, the LI limited institutional, is assisted living facility, a few houses or a few properties to the east. Importantly, the RM, there is some RM residential multifamily zoning about a third of the mile to the east on both sides of Park Boulevard, just off the screen here. However, the C2 zoning across the street would allow multifamily, does allow for multifamily up to 24 units per acre, so it's not necessarily an outlier. We see site photographs of subject property looking at the home from Park Boulevard, with the existing driveway on the left and more of a close-up of the home, existing home on the right. Again, this would be retained and proposed to be retained on site and not removed. On the left is looking east along Park Boulevard. You can see the home on that picture that's also owned by the applicant, and it's essentially the same types of uses that are going on now, just at a smaller scale. A single-family home kind of atmosphere. And on the right is adjacent medical office to the west, adjacent to the west. The left is looking west along Park Boulevard. You can see the intersection there, lighted intersection, and various retail and commercial uses. And on the right, shopping center across Park Boulevard. You can see the 4-lane divided arterial roadway and the supermarket across the street. Some additional information: land use. Current residential suburban land use would allows for residential, agriculture, institutional, recreation, open space at 2.5 units per acre. a 0.3 floor area ratio. It's basically the size of what the building could be for non-residential uses. Proposed residential low land use allows residential, institutional, recreation, open space at 5 units per acre, slightly larger FAR, floor area ratio for non-residential uses, and it would be a potential traffic impacts of 31 additional daily trips based on the additional density. Additional information on the zoning. The current RE zoning allows for single-family residential and accessory agricultural uses, 32,000 square foot minimum lot size. The maximum building height is 35 feet. These setbacks are incorrect on this. It's actually 25 front, 15 sides, and 20 feet rear. So those are incorrect, depicted there. The proposed RMCO zoning with development agreement would allow single-family attached for developmentally disabled persons. All buildings on one lot. Minimum 15-foot separation between buildings. New buildings would be 1-story height, and then the setbacks again 25, 15, and 200 feet, front, sides, and rear. Existing home would remain. And here is a picture of the concept plan. Again, this is binding. You can see the proposed duplexes and triplexes. Buildings are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Also see what's called the clubhouse amenity center as existing home. You see the 215-foot setback from the rear to the first building, number 7 there on the south side of the property. You also see the 15-foot minimum building setbacks on the sides and 25-foot on the front. And also you see it depicts what would be the normal 20-foot minimum building setback in the RE district. You can see how much farther that is, between 20 and 200 feet. It's actually they're proposing 215 feet to the nearest structure. And you can see just to the south, or actually it's not the south, it's the east. The home closest to Park Boulevard is again owned by the applicant with a similar use being housed there. And on the top of the screen is the medical office. And basically to the south or to the left is detached garages, large lots to the south. And the closest home, neighboring home, is on the south, kind of the southeast side, right below the cul-de-sac area there. That's the closest residential home that is not in the ownership of the applicant, and they're showing 138 feet from building 7 to the property line, which is the furthest south building. So I'm sure the applicant can explain more about this when they present. Some additional information, again, the affordable housing density bonus. The applicant intends to seek a density bonus to allow for the 20 units, otherwise only 14 would be allowed. That's an administrative review in the RM district, so it would not have to go to a public hearing. And the development would absolutely be subject to full site plan review. A flood risk on the property it's not within its coastal high hazard area, and it's evacuation level D. Again, the surrounding uses, and we talked about this, being Park Boulevard to the north, 4-lane divided arterial roadway, commercial office node to the north and west, large lot single-family homes to the south and east. The property to the east is owned by the applicant. It's not connected, the subject property is not connected to the adjacent neighborhood directly by any driveways or roads. The only access is to Park Boulevard itself. So therefore, they consider the proposed development a transitional use from that commercial node to the larger lots to south and east. The recommendation on the land use case, FLU 2303, is the proposed land use amendment to from RS to RL. Subject property fronts a busy arterial roadway, the mix of uses. The sole access will be from Park Boulevard, provide the transition between the more intensive uses to single-family homes. The subject property will continue to be limited to a residential type use and is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and Development Review Committee recommends approval. The recommendation on the zoning, proposed amendment RE to RMCO with a development agreement. Again, it's a transitional location, sole access from Park Boulevard. The conditional overlay and development agreement provides assurances as to the future use. The concept plan is binding, will be so in perpetuity. It's not within the coastal hazard area, and it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. Again, Development Review Committee recommends approval of the zoning case. And as the Chair mentioned, the Board of County Commissioners are scheduled to hear this case on October 31st, 9:30 a.m. in the Palm Room, which is on Chestnut Street. If you have any questions for me, that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you, staff. Board members, do you have any questions for staff?
I do.
We'll start with Vice Chair Cooley.
So with today's land use, by my calculation, they could put, I guess, seven units there.
Correct.
How many buildings would be allowed to be on that property? I mean, that could be in different number of buildings, but how many buildings can you put on that property to accommodate those 7 units?
It would further be limited by the zoning district, which requires 32,000 square foot minimum lot sizes. So I don't know how many of those could actually fit on this property, probably not 7.
Okay.
Because they have to meet minimum width and depth standards, and also have a road access in there. But 7 units, if they could have 7 lots, it would be 7 single-family homes with accessory garages, stables, barns, whatever, accessory agricultural uses, things like that.
And on the property today, if they wanted to, they could apply now under today's standards for an affordable housing density bonus as it is today?
Yes.
If they meet all the other requirements, but yes.
Because this is a single-family residential district, it would have to go to the Board of Adjustment and Appeals as a type 2 use or special exception, but yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Board Member Cataldo?
I believe that I saw in the deed that there's a covenant from the western abutter giving ingress and egress. It mentions that the property is going to have sole access off of Park Boulevard. How does that ingress egress come into play?
If you notice, the concept plan has that one sole ingress egress on the concept plan to Park Boulevard. So that's what they would have to use. They could not use any other type of ingress egress. It would be binding to that one location.
All right. Any other board members have any questions for staff? Seeing none, would the applicant please come up? Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 20 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Angela Rauber. I'm with Hillward Henderson. My address is 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida.
All right.
Good morning. As you know, this is our 3rd time before LPA on this application or a similar application. And the first time we were here, we did not have a concept plan that showed the conditions of the overlay. The second time we were here, which was in May, we came with a revised site plan and a site plan that had the conditional overlay as part of it so that you could visualize what we were talking about. And today we're back again and we have a development agreement that makes that conceptual plan binding on this development. And so, Mr. Cataldo, you asked a very important question. If that site plan is approved, then it is binding with respect to the access and all other setbacks that are shown on there. I'm going to put this up here, make sure that it's visible. The last time we were here, we were asked to, we heard information, we heard feedback from the neighborhood and from the board that the site plan and the development agreement were recommended. And that's what we went back and we did that in response to the feedback we received. The development agreement imposes additional limitations on this development, on the proposed project, but throughout our various refinements, the basic facts have remained the same. The site is in the middle of a mixed-use neighborhood. It fronts on Park Boulevard. It's across the street from a busy commercial plaza. It's next door to a commercial node. And DRC and staff have continued to recommend a finding of consistency with the comprehensive plan. The project itself provides an important community need for housing, for affordable housing, and for housing that supports special needs individuals. You're going to hear some scary words. The last time we were here, we heard scary words that like mental health. We heard scary words like addict. There was a lot of that thrown around. The only reason we have mentioned who will be living in this development is because it is part of the conditional overlay. And that is persons who have intellectual and developmental disabilities as defined by statute. For the record, I have a copy of the statute, and I would like to move that it be entered into the record. Would that be
Sure. I don't
acceptable?
think it goes to the clerk.
Otherwise, it's not really this board's job to determine who will live there, and I'm sure you can appreciate that. It's really about the consistency with the comprehensive plan as to the development itself, the density, and the development parameters with respect to the rezoning portion of our request. Again, the applicant keeps coming back because we feel that this is an important project. And as for the consistency, I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Pergolesi.
Thank you. Good morning. My name's Robert Pergolesi. I'm an AICP certified planner and a PTP professional transportation planner with Gulf Coast Consulting, 13825 Icott Boulevard, Suite 605 in Clearwater, and I've been sworn. As Angela mentioned and Glenn's staff report, we got 2.79 acres located on the south side of Park Boulevard, having direct access and frontage to Park Boulevard, which is a major arterial through Pinellas County. We're seeking to rezone from RE to RMCO with a conditional overlay and now a development agreement to provide affordable housing for single-family attached dwellings, and also we seek to amend the future land use plan from RS to RL residential low. I will point out that on the countywide land use plan, this is RLM, which allows up to 10 units per acre. The RL is 5 units per acre, but then there's a density bonus given. The area is a mixed-use area in unincorporated Seminole, located on a major arterial containing a wide variety of retail, office, and residential uses. And as such, I believe the land use plan amendment and rezoning request is reasonable, given the self-imposed limitations of the conditional overlay and the development agreement. I know Glenn went through it. I'll go through it real briefly. Park Boulevard, 4-lane divided arterial. To our north, we have a CVS on the corner of 131st Street, a bank, Portobello Square Shopping Center, and a Winn-Dixie Shopping Center. Those have CG land use and a variety of C1 and C2 zoning. Then further to the east is RL land use, which is what we're seeking, with R2 zoning. I think that's like 7,500 square foot lots. Immediately to the south, we have RS land use and RE zoning, and those are the dwellings that front on 74th Avenue to the south. It's about a quarter mile south of Park Boulevard. These are very deep lots, about 660 feet deep, and those are the largest state homes. To the east, we have a detached home used for independent living, which is owned by the applicant. That's this right here, and this right here on the aerial photograph. And then further to the east, we have the Oak Tree ALF, which has institutional land use and limited institutional zoning. And to our west, immediately to our west is Max Health. It's a medical clinic, which has ROG land use and GO, general office zoning. And then further to the west, again, a variety of retail uses having CG land use and C1 zoning. Seminole Garden Florists, Jodo's Pizza, and a gas station convenience store that is on the corner of 131st Street, which is a commercial node. In my opinion, the rezoning to RMCO with the land use plan amendment to residential low is appropriate for this parcel, which fronts directly on the arterial and serves as a transition between the heavy commercial that's to the west and to the north, and the residential that is to the south and to the east. As Glenn mentioned, the CG land use allows up to 24 units per acre, and the ROG allows up to 15 units per acre. So in reality, in addition to commercial, you could do 24 units per acre here. In addition to the office, you could do 15 units per acre here. On our subject site, we're seeking to go to 5 units per acre. On the land use, it'd be up to 7 with the density bonus. And then to the east, you go down to 2.5 units per acre. We don't believe going from 15 to 2.5 is appropriate. There needs to be some sort of middle transition. The existing large lot homes fronting on Park Boulevard is rather an anomaly. The large lot homes are better suited for the area along 74th Avenue. And if you've been along there, Old Oakhurst Road, those are very large lots, very deep lots, very large homes. So I believe that we can provide affordable housing for 24 developmentally disabled residents in a residential setting that can be harmonious with the adjacent residential development. The site meets the locational characteristics of the RL land use, having minimal impact to adjoining uses, being low-density residential in nature, serving as a transition, and not in areas within the 100-year floodplain. As far as public utilities, water and sanitary sewer service is readily available to the site by Pinellas County Utilities. Transportation impacts are minimal. The adjacent segment of Park Boulevard between 113th Street and 131st Street operates at level of service D, carrying 27,000 vehicles a day, according to the 2022 level of service report. It's been updated since we were last here. And the segment west of 131st Street operates a level of service C, carrying 16,000 vehicles a day. The 24 residents would generate only 79 daily trips, 9 a.m. peak hour trips, 11 p.m. peak hour trips, and most importantly, the vehicular access is limited to Park Boulevard only. Additionally, the site is in flood zone X, which is out of the 500-year floodplain. It's located in hurricane evacuation zones D and E, which are very rarely required to evacuate. And the site is outside of the coastal high hazard area. The site actually slopes from about 23 feet above sea level here to about 18 down here, which is why the pond here at the low end of the site is the appropriate location, and that pond serves as an extensive buffer to the residential to the south. Comparative impacts with the conditional overlay. I do want to point out that the subject property, combined with the other property owned by the applicant, could be developed into 5 homes, meeting the large lot requirements of 32,000 square feet of the RE zoning district. And each of those 5 homes could have up to 6 non-related people living in them for a total of 30 people. On our property, we propose 20 units, 24 residents. That is binding by the development agreement. I do want to point out we're in fact complying with the RE zoning standards. As Glenn pointed out, we're meeting a 25-foot front setback. We're meeting a 15-foot minimum side setback, but in addition to providing a 20-foot required rear setback, we're actually providing a 215 required rear setback to building number 7. I believe the DA states 200 feet, which gives us a little bit of room in case some site plan issues come up. And as Glenn mentioned, this building number 7 is 138 feet from the eastern property line, and this is the nearest home that is not owned by the applicant. And then finally, I'd like to point out that we will be providing 6-foot high fence on the south and eastern sides where we abut single-family residential. And again, the development agreement is legally binding. This plan shows about a 25% ISR, whereas in RE, you're allowed a maximum of 60% ISR. So we've got a lot more green space than what would be allowed. We've got about 75% green space. So in summary, the conditional overlay with the DA places severe limitations on this property from what otherwise would be permitted in the RM zone. We're limiting our maximum height to any new buildings would be 1 story. RE allows up to 35 feet high. We'll be below 35 feet high with any new 1-story buildings. And the land use plan amendment to residential low and the rezoning of the property to RMCO with the overlay and the DA is compatible with adjacent zoning districts and development in the area, which serve as a transition between the heavy commercial to the north and west and the lower density to the south and east. And Staff recommends approval of both the land use and the rezoning. And I'm here to answer any questions, but I'll turn it over to Angela for a summary.
I do have two quick additional points. Wanted to also just reiterate that there will be a deed restriction because of the development agreement. Again, I think Mr. Bailey talked about that. And then Member Cooley also spoke about the client of Attorney Ongst. That owner is Mr. Alonso, and it's to the property directly to the south, so the abutting backyard, close to the detention area. Other than that, we respectfully request your finding of consistency of recommendation and or recommendation. And if you have any questions, we're available.
Madam Chair, I have a quick question for Ms. Robber. The statute that you entered into the record, was that the Fair Housing Act?
No, it was not
provisions, or
the
was
Fair Housing Act. It was the statute that's referenced for the definition of intellectually persons with IDD, the IDD definition.
I mean, it didn't matter. I was just going to note that, and I'll just make this note now, that under the Fair Housing Act, it's against the law to discriminate or otherwise deny housing based on race, color, national origin, sex, handicap, or familial status or religion. And so I would just caution the board that I don't know what you're going to hear when you hear testimony today, but whatever decision is made needs to be made on land use principles. So the land use board needs to be made on land use principles. The identity of the people who live there is, well, it's part of the conditional overlay. It's not a deciding factor for the board to consider. This is a land use board, so you look at consistency. And I just want to caution the board as to that, because there is, again, this is a recommending body, but there is possible exposure under reasonable accommodation standards under the Fair Housing Act if a decision is made based solely on the fact that the individuals are handicapped.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Board members, do you have any questions for the applicant at this time? Oh,
Question.
all right, Board Member Cataldo.
With the increase in the density and being an evacuation zone D, the applicant has other residents in A and B zones. Do they have any experience in moving people out if needed, being that a lot of these people may be dependent on management for assistance? So I'm
We
just
have the
wondering
applicant
how
is-
that might go.
The applicant is here to answer that question, or the applicant's representative.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Braun. I'm a consultant with Castle. My address is 2943 Maiden Lane, Sarasota. To answer your question, yes. All individuals that would be residing in these homes are enrolled on Agencies for Persons with Disabilities Home and Community-Based Waiver Program. These individuals are required to have a support coordinator and also a coach, a supported living coach.
What was the, I'm sorry, I can, some of
That's
the words are
okay.
getting
So many
muddled.
acronyms
What
and
was-
things.
Can you
Yeah.
just, the last part of what you said,
They are required, the individuals that would be residing in these homes are enrolled on the Home and Community-Based Waiver Program through Agencies with Persons with Disabilities. Okay. So individuals that are enrolled on that program, it's a federal Medicaid program, okay? They're required to have supported staff, okay? Part of the program and part of the staff's responsibility that work with the individuals are to create a disaster plan. That is something that is done annually. It is reviewed annually. So yes, there is a plan in place, supports are in place if there is a need to evacuate. Thankfully, they are in evacuation zone D, but besides that, they also have to have a plan in place in case they lose electricity. They have to have canned food, they have to have the water, they have to have their medication. There's constant contact with them during the storm and after the storm. Does that answer your question?
it does. Thank you.
Yep.
All right,
Question.
Board Member Henson.
Hey, good morning. I wanted to ask two follow-up questions. One was the last time You guys were here and presented, you talked about having a 24-hour security guard who lived in the main house. I didn't see that written anywhere, maybe I missed it, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to show me where that was.
That was considered by the applicant, and it was not incorporated into the development agreement because this is a small, very, very small, low-density development, and it frankly did not warrant a security guard under those conditions.
Okay, and then my second question is in regards to the letter from Stephen and Wendy Walters. Do I need to note the document or anything? It's in our packets.
Then that would be part of our record, correct?
So it's already in the package. in the
Okay.
record.
All right.
So I'm bringing up this one, but many of the letters mention this, so it's just consistent themes. So they talk about the other facility that's a few doors down, having a lot of maintenance issues, having, I guess there's up to 6 people who usually can stay there, but only 3 who are typically there. The staff is going and asking neighbors for tools, to borrow phones, asking them for emergency help, for generators. Just wanted to hear more about the maintenance plan and why so many people are saying this is happening.
I would point out that there's only, in my review of the record, there was one that specifically mentioned the generators and spoke to those issues, just for clarification.
Hi, I'm Scott Eller. We're the owners of 13,000 Park Boulevard. The issue with the generator is a little bit confusing. Since we've built the building, the generator's been maintained by a company. What we did have during one storm, when they lost power, we did have neighbors asking if they could run a cord from our place to theirs. That's all I recall with that. We had a discussion, and they said, well, like our kids cannot walk down the sidewalk. We went after the hearing, went and took photos of the sidewalk. The sidewalk was not obstructed. The fence was not. So we went and looked at the maintenance issues they were discussing, and we didn't see them present. But we do have maintenance staff that go by there bi-weekly and do inspections and also repairs if needed.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Board Member Cooley.
So is a project for affordable housing related to persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities feasible without the changes that are requested on that property? A project?
Could you repeat the question, please?
It is a affordable housing project for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities possible, feasible today, as it is today, not the design you have, but some form of affordable housing. Can you make a project like that feasible without the changes that are requested?
For people with developmental disabilities? No. The funding streams that are in place, and keep in mind with affordable housing, the challenge is it costs this much money to build housing, okay? Well, if your rents are this, how are you going to cover this? It's financially infeasible. That's why we have different grant and subsidy programs to build the housing. The funders are, adamant. It's a nationwide model where they want 80% of the units being 1 bedroom and 20% being 2 bedroom. Okay, there is another model that you can have like a 4-bedroom house, for example, and have up to 3 unrelated individuals living there, and then the 4th is like your living caregiver. But that's not funded. Those types of housing programs are not funded. What we're proposing is funded, but additionally, for us to get any, for example, rental assistance, if it's project-based rental assistance with HUD or Section 8, we've already tried this with the county. We said, we tried to do it with our current house, and we need to have 4 separate addresses, like 1294 Park Boulevard, Unit A, Unit B, Unit C, Unit D, and they said that they could not do that. So it made it impossible for our current house to have that to assist people on making the housing more affordable. Keep in mind, please, the people we're serving are going to make about $980 a month on Social Security. And as we know, that doesn't go far. So if we're charging, if we're trying to charge people $600 a month or $700 to make it work, they have no money to buy food. By having that subsidy in there with for the rental assistance, we can provide that and make it more affordable to them, removing the barrier. So I'm probably a little long-winded here, but the short answer is no. With the specific population we're serving, this is the funding that's allowed. This is how we have to build it. And we're also looking for people that we're serving to be a little bit more independent than not.
How much housing is available in Pinellas County, independent housing for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities like this project would serve?
The answer is very little. As of before we came last time, I had spoken with APD, and they had guesstimated within Pinellas County there are about 2,000 people with intellectual disabilities that need affordable housing. The majority of them are living in their family homes. The parents are getting elderly. The parents would like them to remain in this area so they could be close. We have several people that are in group homes because they need to be out of the family home for various reasons, but it's not an appropriate housing option really for them. But they cannot afford, affordable quality housing. I will say so I'll just put it out here. There are a lot of slumlords right now in Pinellas County that are housing individuals with developmental disabilities. And it's very depressing.
So what we're running into, and I hope we keep this in mind, we're catering to people who, when they were born, they were dealt a losing hand in life. They're not like other people who can go to college, get jobs, higher education, employment. If they're having a bad day, if they want to just go for a drive and walk on the beach, they don't have the ability to do that for a variety of reasons, okay? So we're trying not to create that to be even worse. We're trying to give them a place in nice middle-class America or a little bit above, so they do have the same opportunities for the rest of us. So we're just trying to make people's lives better here.
All right. Board members, any other questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none,
Thank you
please
very
take a
much.
seat, but stay close. At this time, we will hear members of the public who are in support of applications FLU 23-03 or ZON 23-03. So if you wish to speak in support of application FLU 23-03 or ZON 23-03, please come up to the lectern. Seeing none in the room, do we have anybody online who wishes to speak in support of FLU 23-03 or ZON 23-03?
Good morning, we have no one online to speak.
All right. At this time, we'll hear from persons who oppose applications FLU 23-03 or ZON 23-03. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition to either of those applications? Please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and whether you've been sworn.
Madam Chair, I've been sworn. My name is Rob Healy. My address is 13432 73rd Avenue. I have 5 people donating time on my behalf if you'd like to hear from them officially.
Madam Clerk, have we confirmed the 5 people?
I have them on a list, or they could stand up.
Madam Chair, it would be helpful if they just briefly came by I know it's a little bit tedious, but for the record, if they briefly came by and just stated their name and that they were donating their time. I've found through experience that when you're going back and reading transcripts and they say 5 people have speaking for 5 people and you don't know which 5 by name, it starts to get troublesome. So.
Understood. Thank you, counsel. Would the 5 people who are donating their time please step up to the lectern, state your name and address, and that you're donating your time?
Hi, my name is Cody Chisholm. I live at 7676 D Long Way, and I am donating my time.
Thank you for your time today.
Hi, Gary Chisholm, 7676 D Long Way, Seminole, Florida, and I'm donating my time to Rob.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
My name is Sharon Hoover. I reside at 7475 Pine Valley Lane. I'm also giving my time to.
Thank you for your time.
I'm Kristen Silvera. I live at 7415 Pine Valley Lane in Seminole, and I'm giving my time to Rob.
Thank you for your involvement today.
Morning, Sean Smith, 13127 72nd Terrace North, Seminole, and I'm deferring my time to Rob.
All right. Thank you for your involvement today.
Is the document camera going to be available if I have a couple of pictures, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. It's nice to see everyone this morning. I'd like to start by saying that this area of the county is a very unique area in both density and character. These are estate-sized lots, low density, horse stables, green space. There are indeed grocery stores, gas stations, churches there, but that's what you would expect in this type of a residential neighborhood. I don't know if that shows the document camera. This is a zoom out of the area, and you can see the red areas are the very limited commercial in the neighborhood. There are indeed schools in blue, there's a cemetery, there's churches, there's a large park. It's a very unique area. It is not a commercial area. There's very limited commercial, which is a grocery store, gas station, pharmacy. To take a look the opposite direction from what we saw in the earlier presentation, that's what it looks like looking back towards the neighborhood. And on there you can see the assisted living facility that is feet away. You can make out Independence Home, which is Castle's other property they've talked about, the subject area, the small commercial node on the corner, and then residential as far as the eye can see. I'd like to talk a little bit about that Independence House, which is the neighbor. This is a community residential home under 419.001 that Castle runs. And despite a couple of complaints, I think largely the neighbors I've talked to have not had trouble with it because it is consistent with the character and the density of the neighborhood. It is an estate-sized lot and a single-family home. It has 3 or 4 permanent residents who have disabilities, just like what they're suggesting here, and they have full-time staff there. There's been no conflict with the neighborhood and no issue. So the issue is not the folks that are living there or proposed here, it's the change in the character and the density of the property. The other thing I would suggest is that the neighborhood is certainly doing its part for the community to try to house folks that are in need. And along those lines, there are 2 ALFs within 1,000 feet of each other, which is the absolute smallest distance that they're permitted. They have to be 1,000. Oak Tree Manor is this red mark here. Down further, I believe it's Briar. Oak Tree has 58 residents, Briar I believe has 12. This small square is the actual house on the estate-sized lot that Castle operates now, and this is the property where they're seeking to add 24 people. Community residential homes are very specific, and Florida statute provides how close they can be to each other. And under Florida statutes, community residential homes can't be closer than 1,000 feet in a residential area. They don't have to be approved if it's 6 or less persons because they're residential. But if you want to put 2 of them within 1,000 feet, Florida statute prohibits it. And that would be 1 community residential home with a limited number of residents they could not put on this property because of their existing community residential home. And that's Florida law. They couldn't put a 7 to 14 person community residential home on that property. That would have to be at least 1,200 feet away. They couldn't put an ALF on that property. They couldn't put a nursing home on that property. All of those things are precluded by Florida law. But what they're proposing is even bigger than those things that would not be permitted, 24 people. I think that statute too, 419.001, is instructive in that it talks about what impacts the nature and character of a neighborhood. And it talks specifically at 3C3, that a local government shall not deny the sitting of a community residential home unless the local government establishes that the sitting home of the site selected, and I'll clarify, this is talking about in a multi-family zoning. All right, that's what this portion of the statute talks about. But what it says is that if you try to put a community residential home, which can be 6 or less, or 7 to 14 under the statute, in a multifamily zoning, a home that is located within a radius of 1,200 feet of another existing community residential home shall be an overconcentration of such homes that substantially alters the nature and character of the area. A home that is located within a radius of 500 feet of an area of single-family zoning substantially alters the nature and character of the area. Now, they're not proposing another community residential home. They're proposing more. But under Florida law, it shall be an alteration of the character of the neighborhood. I'd like to also address what's been talked about at the prior hearing and again at this one.
One moment. Would
Yes,
you
sir.
please state the citation of that Florida statute? I'm sorry to throw you off.
It was 419.001, and I specifically put up on the board 3C3.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The existing use there that we talked about a little bit, and Mr. Dooley had some questions about land use versus zoning and what could actually go there. Well, the zoning is residential estate. It requires 32,000 square feet. That's 198 by 614, both parcels, so that's 121,000 square feet. So there's no way to put more than 3 houses there and a road. I mean, that's really the bottom line with the existing zoning. Sure, in the land use, you could put 6, 7 houses, but the existing zoning residential estate, which is what's there, it's not something that's possible. Board of County Commissioners addressed this in 2022, substantially the same exact. It was a 120-foot setback, now it's 200. Castle at that hearing actually proposed a 274-foot setback, but they've walked that back. It was not approved. In fact, going back and looking at the meeting, one commissioner moved to approve it, and it failed for a lack of a second. That was all that happened to that commissioner. There was not support at the Board of County Commissioners. They did let them have another attempt. The comment made by one of the commissioners at that meeting, though, is important, and it's that density is exploding in South County, which was a significant concern for that particular commissioner. Stated this is a neighborhood with open and green space, estate lots, very unique, and that's why the homeowners have bought into the neighborhood. And that's certainly true. And there's been many, many hearings in this neighborhood about issues. People trying to split lots have been denied over the years. The assisted living facility, Oak Tree Manor, has actually had hearings 8 times from 1996 until March 29th of 2016. The last time that the ALF was in front of the Board of County Commissioners was March 29th, 2016, and the Board of County Commissioners said enough is enough for the neighborhood. Enough is enough. That's essentially the position of the neighbors, that we have certainly been good neighbors and allowed folks into our neighborhood and serve the community with assisted living facilities, with community residential homes, but at some point enough is enough. The density is much more than is supported by the neighborhood. It alters the character of the neighborhood. And frankly, when they were at the BOCC meeting in 2022, the commissioner said, hey, work with the neighbors, come up with something that everyone can agree on. And they did come up with something that one person can agree on, and he's not here, Mr. Alonzo. But they didn't propose anything other than what they've always proposed. It's always been the same thing. Now it has a development agreement. It's the same density, same number of units. It's the same exact thing. There isn't going to be 24/7 personnel there, or even full-time personnel. There is, unlike the home that they have there, it's not staffed all the time. They are a landlord. They've said it here. They've said it in front of the BOCC. They don't provide services to folks that certainly need services, unlike the other folks in our neighborhood who do have services provided by the people that have them there as tenants. They're essentially an absentee landlord here, and they don't have a great track record. I'm not going to go through it. I'm sure others have submitted it. It was talked about before, news articles at other facilities where they operate as just a landlord and they've had a very poor track record. But I would suggest that they haven't had a really great track record in this facility. They've owned this house since 2021. They bought it as an estate lot and house. They haven't maintained it. I don't know that the air conditioning's been on in 2.5 years. I don't know how they're going to use the property as a clubhouse if that's the case. Looking at the exterior of the property, it's in disrepair. Everybody's been looking at it for 2 years. And these are just photographs taken from a distance. This is the clubhouse. And you know, as the county attorney said at the last BOCC hearing, it is absolutely appropriate for the BOCC and this board to consider their track record. That has nothing to do with the identity of the folks that they're asking to live here. It's a track record of the company that's coming in and adding a development that's much too dense and is not in character with the neighborhood. And so for that reason, I would ask that you deny both the zoning and land use requests, and appreciate your time today. And I can answer any questions.
All right. Board members, do you have any questions for the speaker? It appears not.
I have a question.
Board member Henson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to see how, I know you're speaking for your neighbors, so how you guys feel about what they can already do on the property. So if I'm getting my numbers correctly, I think they said that They can build 5 buildings with 6 non-related adults in each building, totaling 30 people. So I'm just curious, like, is 24 better than 30? I know your concern is density, so I just wanted to hear your thoughts.
Yes, ma'am. I think there's a real question about whether they can build more than 3 single-family houses on that property. And speaking for myself and some of my neighbors, had they approached us and said, hey, we would like to do other homes like independent house, community residential homes on this property, that would be something that we would be agreeable to. They could do because that home has not been any issue with the community and provides an important service. They could do 1 or 2 or probably even 3 of those homes. They'd have to get variances, they'd have to get permission, they'd have to come here just like they are, but that's the only option that we've been provided is this dense option. And so I would feel fine about other options, but this particular option is one that is denser and out of way. And I can say the Long Way, which is the road right next door, has been similarly divided up from what it had been years ago into 4 estate lots. It's bigger. This would fit 3 and would fit in with what was done at the Long Way. And so we'd be fine with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions for the speaker? All right.
Okay, thank you.
For your time this morning. All right. Anyone else wish to speak in opposition to applications FLU 23-03, ZON 23-03?
Hi, good morning. I'm Barb Crawl. I live at 7626 128th Street. I'm unincorporated Seminole 33776. We purchased our property in June of 1985. We built and moved in our home in March of 1989. I oppose any change in zoning for the partial of the 2.79 acres located at 13000 Park Boulevard. Factual information actually given by John Corvée on May 10th of 2023 at the LPA meeting. And as a side note, you all know that John worked for Pinellas County Planning Department for over 35 years. I've come to know him well, and I'm sure you all recognize him sitting here on the board. And I'm going to refer to things that he said. On May 10th of 2023, he became like a talking encyclopedia and gave a history lesson by using the zoning land use plan. He explained how the Board of County Commissioners came to our neighborhood in the early 80s and put forth a zoning and a promise to protect our unique area and especially its environment. He, on May 10th, believed that the above cases violated the Board of County Commissioners' intentions and promise to the residents, adding that he does not feel the proposed development is consistent with the surrounding uses. And yes, we as residents have built our lives around these promises made. He as well on May 10th, 2023 made a motion to deny both FLU 20-03 basis of inconsistency with the future land use map and zoning in our area, as well denied case zone 23-03 based on inconsistency with zoning in the area and incompatibility with zoning and the land use designation in the area, both speaking and repeating volumes to us as neighbors surrounding this piece of property. Yes, we do have well-established businesses around us. They've been there for many years. In the late 70s, Jodo's Pizza came. The gas station's always been on the corner. The medical center's been there. All of these act as a transitional area to us. As a neighborhood, we use these things all the time. The Winn-Dixie replaced the old Spoto's Stockyard restaurant and banquet facilities. Maybe you as a young person went there with your parents or something. That sat empty for a while. It was replaced by the Winn-Dixie Shopping Center. Final note, we've collected we've sent in 338 signatures opposing these cases. We're still walking and collecting. I know one of our members has signatures right now. I oppose any change in this. I do feel is enough. We have the ALF. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time this morning. Before I call up the next speaker, I'm just going to check in with Council McAteer. I just want to make sure that we're still in a good place as far as integrity of the decision to be made today. We had some previous statements made by Board Member Cueva, who I respect for since the beginning of my career, that appears to be offered as evidence, some type of opinion-based evidence is what it registered with me as. Is that evidence well taken? Do we need to do any type of disclosure or recusal?
Based on the platform in which it was given, I mean, it was my understanding it was given an open hearing. If I misunderstood, then
I do believe so.
if it was given an open hearing, it's public record.
Okay.
You know, to the extent that the applicant wishes to question Mr. Cueva about those comments upon rebuttal, that probably should be allowed.
Okay.
But other than that, I don't see a problem.
Understood. All right. Now, our next, do we have any other speakers in the room who wish to please come up?
Good morning. My name is Donna Chisholm. I live at 7676 DeLong Way. I'm directly south of the Independent House, and I'm the closest house to the proposed zoning change and land use change. And back in August, a few of us attended the DRC meeting, and one of the other cases that was talked about, that Glenn talked about, he had said that it was, or Mr. Bailey, sorry, one of the things wasn't consistent with the neighborhood. It was one of the properties in Palm Harbor they were talking about. And it kind of struck me because this isn't consistent with our neighborhood. My two neighbors on DeLong Way next to me, Wendy and Steve and Delane and Dan, they both have children with Down syndrome. And in front of me where the independent house is, you know, we see them all the time, we wave to them, we have no problem with them being there. So as far as like the property that they have now, and also the house that's there is, I don't see how they could fix that house, maybe they could. But to have, you know, 3 homes like what's in front of us, like their independent house, we have no problem with that because somebody's there with them all the time. And the people that wouldn't have somebody with them all the time, and you know who would be taking care of them and overseeing everything. And I know there's you know need for helping people like that. So you know the homes like that would be great. We have no problem with that. You know, next to us it would be you know by me. And also one other little concern we had was having a big pond like that. We have so many mosquitoes now, and that's a big pond that they're proposing back there. And you know, maybe it doesn't matter to you know if you're not living there, but I live there. But guess that's about it. And I have any notes. No. And also, it's not really, I wouldn't call it, they're calling it heavy commercial where we are. The doctor's office next to them has been there since 1991. I've lived right around this area since 74, in my house that I'm living in now, 22 years. And it's just a beautiful area. I don't know if any of you have ever been out there and walked the property and, you know, and looked at it, but 3 homes with like right in front of me with my great neighbors would be acceptable to all of us. But we've never been approached and asked about that. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning. Do we have anybody else in the room who wishes? Yes, ma'am. Please come up. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Wilda Healy, 13254 88th Place. Oh, I'm sorry. I live at 12819 Poinsett Avenue. I'm kind of nervous. I don't do this very much.
It's okay.
Poinsett Avenue, Seminole 33776. So this morning when I was thinking about coming up to the meeting, I just made a few notes, and I'd just like to read them to you. I think I can get them across better that way. So as I told you, my name is Wilda Healy, and I'm here to request that you deny the proposed amendments being discussed today. I have seen many changes over the years, some good, others not so good. I was born in Florida and have resided in Pinellas County since I was 11 years old. my husband and I resided in St. Petersburg in our early marriage and moved to Seminole, where we bought our first home in 1972. We raised our sons in Seminole, where they attended Bowder Elementary, Seminole Middle, and Seminole High School. Upon completing their college degrees, they chose to remain in Seminole and have families in this community. We all still reside in the unincorporated portion of the county, which we call Seminole. Changing the zoning code of this property will affect all the citizens who reside here in this community. I currently live next door to a short-term vacation rental that did not get the proper permits for construction projects undertaken and is advertised to accommodate 20 persons, even though zoning codes state that only 10 persons can reside in short-term rentals. Currently, there are 7 cars parked on the lawn and haphazardly in the street that would prevent emergency vehicles from driving down our street, which is narrow, and access to my home, which I've had to have an ambulance a couple times. Maybe it's time for the county to look at zoning laws that will enhance the neighborhoods that are already established and not put corporations before the will of the people who own homes in our communities. Thank you for listening today.
Thank you for your time today. Mr. Bailey, our citizen mentioned something that sounds like it could be a code enforcement issue. Can we get her in contact with the proper department?
Yes, you would need to contact code enforcement.
Okay.
Yeah, office regarding that. If it's a violation, they'll handle it.
All right. Do we have anybody else in the room who wishes to speak in opposition to applications FLU 23-03 and ZON 23-03? All right. I see none in the room. Is there anybody online who wishes to speak in opposition to applications FLU 23-03 or ZON 23-03?
We have no one online at this time.
All right. Applicant, do you wish to give a rebuttal?
Yes.
All right, please come forth and state your name again for the record.
My name is Angela Robert. First, to clarify a few things. First, this is not an assisted living facility. This is the proposed project offers independent living to persons who are capable of living independently. It is also not community residential housing as defined by the statute that was referenced. That is a licensed type of facility that is different and serves a different population of persons with need. So again, that is different. The existing Independence House is a single-family home that offers housing to persons who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. What we are proposing in this application is, it's a duplex-triplex development. It happens to have a conditional overlay that limits the group of people who are eligible to live in the housing to people who have adult IDD, and that's adults with IDD. And again, the location is on Park Boulevard. It is not part of the, it doesn't connect or have any sort of vehicular access or pedestrian access to the properties to the south and to the larger area of estate-sized lots. This is an estate-sized lot. As you can see, it's 2.79 acres. And you heard testimony earlier that it would be able to be combined, and there would be 5 houses that could fit on this lot under the existing residential estate zoning. No additional approval would be needed from this board or any other board in order to construct those. Unless there were variances requested or a density bonus, that would not be required. I also want to draw your attention to the property to the, sorry, that's the north, that's the east. The property to the east. This was an area that was previously subdivided into 4 residential lots. So it has a different character than the properties, again, that are to the south. I'd also draw your attention to just the character along Park Boulevard, as you heard testimony, the large 2.79 acre parcel that is the subject site is an anomaly along this area of Park Boulevard. So again, the character of this area is mixed use. And this project is a residential, low-density residential project.
Robert Pergolizzi for the record. Other than Mrs. Chisholm, who lives right here, no one that spoke today is immediately adjacent to this piece of property. And as I spoke before, this property is large enough to have 3 single-family lots of exceeding 32,000 square feet. But combined with the property we already own, we would be able to do 5, okay? And I think you had a question on that, and I hope that clarifies. It's a total of 5, including that lot, okay? And in putting homes there, we would actually be able to place a home closer to Ms. Chisholm's lot under existing zoning than what we're committing to in the development agreement. I think that's an important point. Thanks.
Finally, I would also point out that Mr. Cueva's comments at the earlier hearing that were referenced today were made in his capacity as a member of this board, not as an expert, and so they should be given the weight that is according to that. We did have experts who spoke today, and we have planning reports that are in the record. We have those amount to competent and substantial evidence. And then again, of course, the questions that's before you today is, for land use, is this consistent with the comprehensive plan? The answer to that is yes, as has been shown by the planning experts who have testified and who have presented their cases and planning reports today. And the question for the rezoning is there competent and substantial evidence in the record to support this request? And that answer also is in the affirmative.
The other thing, too, is the state is wanting individuals in independent living homes. What we currently have in Independence House is supported living. Those are individuals that do require 24-hour support. We are proposing homes and residence for individuals that need independent, so they don't require somebody with them 24/7, but they do have a developmental disability.
All right.
We can answer any more questions, yeah.
Members, do you have any questions?
I do,
All right.
Madam Chair.
Board Member Laurie Johnson.
Before you
Stay
leave.
still. Ms. Robert, come back.
So, just a clarification. We've heard 3 and 5, and thank you for clarifying that it would only be 5 if you included the existing.
The other lot.
Owner lot, all right. How many persons could occupy each house?
Okay, so that question, if you go by the Pinellas County Zoning Land Development Code, there are 6 unrelated persons who by code can live in a house. There's also such a thing that we talked about earlier, which is the Fair Housing Act, and that could change the number of people who could live in that housing under a type of application of the Fair Housing Act or a reasonable accommodations request. So that is a hard to answer question, but I'd also say that the 5 houses, the 3 houses that are allowed on the existing project site, and the 5 that would be available with the combination, is also based on a straight reading of the existing zoning without the application of affordable housing density bonuses that could also be available. So it's hard to answer the question, but let's go with 6 for our purposes today, and that's 18 on the subject site and 30 for the other side, for the combined site.
Second question. There was a question about let me just get this word out, applicability of the Florida statute. So there was a discrepancy between what we heard from the opponent, and you said that statute did not apply. Can you explain that?
The statute that was referenced by the opposition was speaking to community residential housing, assisted living facilities, and other types of housing that are licensed under that particular act. The housing that is proposed on this site is a duplex and triplex residential development. It is not the type of housing that is referenced under that statute. So it is not subject to any of those distance regulations or other considerations because it is not that type of housing.
Are there other statutes within that code that may apply?
The zoning code is what applies, what we're here for today. There's state statute, the state statute that's referenced in the conditional overlay, that would apply because it's what provides the definition of persons with IDD. So that's where that statute comes into play. And obviously there are other statutes that apply to funding that may be received or things like that, but I don't want to overcomplicate it, but there's
It's okay,
nothing
it's
that
already
would provide a
overcomplicated. Thank you
distance
very much.
regulation that, other than the one that was referenced, which does not apply.
Thank you.
So part of the problem, maybe I can provide clarity for this, is historically, the state is engaged in putting people in licensed group care facilities just because they have a disability, not because they need that level of care. And that's been the model. And it's been found to be against the Federal Fair Housing Act because they deserve the right to live independently if they are able to. And a lot of them are. Okay, so the model is, and somebody asked earlier, why don't you go build some other types of housing? Why, for example, build housing for people in recovery from addiction or mental health? That's not the model we want there. What we want is for people to live independently with IDD. It's a different type of individual and disability altogether. But the challenge is what the state is saying, also by federal mandate and CMS, we want independent housing. That's what is needed, and they're correct. Because it was about 6 months ago or so, Jim Whitaker was here. That was the CEO of ARC of Jacksonville, and that's what they did. They built a bunch of duplexes with an 80% one-bedroom, 20% two-bedroom units for that reason, for independent housing. And with the support programs that are in place by Medicaid and APD that Ms. Braun spoke about, that's the exact type of housing that is needed.
Right, and just to simplify that a little bit, there are people who have different levels of needs. There are people who need personal care services and need to live in a facility-type setting, and there are people who don't. And the need, there's need everywhere. Don't be mistaken. But the need that this project is designed to serve is those individuals who can live independently, who want to live independently in a residential setting in a lovely mixed-use neighborhood. And this provides that, is designed to provide that opportunity.
All right. Board Member Laurie Johnson, do you have any follow-up questions?
Not at this time.
All right.
Chair, I wanted to ask a follow-up question to our own council, since we are getting like the two different sides of how you interpret the statute and what applies and what the real number that's allowed on
So
the lot is.
the community residential home statute I thought was offered as an analogy and as an illustrative analogy and not as I think the speaker stated that he was not representing it as being applicable to this case. And Ms. Roberts correct in her rebuttal description of the applicable statutes and unit counts. And so I think that was just simply, they were trying to make an analogy with community residential homes and say, oh, well, this is bigger than that and whatever. And I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but Ms. Roberts' statement as to the applicable statutory provisions is correct.
Okay. Board Member Henson, do you have any follow-up?
No, that was helpful. Thank you.
All right. Do any board members have any questions for the applicant at this time?
I've got a couple questions.
All right, Board Member Cooley.
Someone mentioned sort of track record with other residential properties and challenges, and I think some of that cited in the letters that we received. It doesn't sound to me like it's the same population.
Correct.
And so can you talk a bit about your track record when it comes to properties with persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities?
Well, the 40 properties that we operate in Manatee and Sarasota County over the past 23-ish years, we've seen about 15 911 calls combined. And all the calls were for people that had emergent medical issues. So that's been the difference. They were not for drugs or alcohol. It wasn't for anything of that nature. These were people that were, just having, like they were choking, they swallowed something wrong, or they had an allergic reaction. We've had people that have been outside and they have allergies, they get a bee sting, and they'll call 911, things of that nature.
Any follow-up questions?
I don't think so. I think I might be good.
Do any other board members have any questions for the applicant?
I have one more quick question.
Board Member Laurie Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A quick question, because it was referred to in the remarks. The condition of the existing building is in disrepair, obviously. Was there a reason why you allowed that building to deteriorate like that? The photos that they showed us were, paint peeling off, the building that's going to become your clubhouse, the paint peeling off, looks like holes in the eaves and things like that. Is that the current condition of the building? And
The current condition, it needs to be significantly rehabbed. I have not done anything with it because I'm trying to figure out, when we can move forward and how we can move forward and secure funding. But that building, I'm going to maintain its architecture. But yeah, there's going to be a new roof on it. It's going to be repainted. There's going to be some repair work for rotted wood. So it's going to have a significant rehab. It's going to be several $100,000s to rehab it. And quite frankly, when I bought it, it was in that condition. We've made some emergency repairs to keep it from getting worse, but again, we've been waiting for the long-term funding and to get through this process before we move forward. But I mean, the property is mowed, it is kept up.
Thank you.
Any follow-up questions? All right. Last call for questions to the applicant. Anyone? Okay. So, thank you. All right. Mr. Bailey, can you please pull up the concept plan real quick?
Pete, can you pull up the concept plan on the PowerPoint that I had? Not. If not, we can put it on the overhead. There we go.
Okay. So, just making sure that I understand, we have a maximum of 8 buildings under this concept plan, 7 that are duplexes and triplexes, 1 that's the clubhouse. And then if you think of it in terms of Castle's other property immediately to the east, that brings us to 9, correct? Is it true that up to 6 non-related people could live in the other house that Castle owns?
Yes.
Okay. So across the 2 properties, this could theoretically be built out with 4 structures or 5 structures, as Mr. Pergolizzi said. Do you?
I've not done that research or looked into that closely, but yes.
So we could be looking at 30 residents of any kind across the 2 properties.
It meets the criteria of the statute for community residential homes. There's 2 types. There's 1 to 6, and there's 7 to 14. The 1 to 6, we're preempted, and we have to allow them. However, we can require 1,000-foot separation. So it would require variance if they met that definition.
Okay.
If it's just like a house where you have 6 unrelated individuals living
That's
there.
what I'm asking about.
Yes, they could do that.
That's what I'm asking about.
Anybody can do that in their house.
Completely devoid of the kind that would be living in here. Just how many unrelated people can the house support under the code?
I believe it's U.S. law, right? It's like Supreme Court. Yes. The state says that anyway.
Okay. I'm having some type of a flashback to law school about that, but I
agree with Mr. Bailey's comment.
Okay.
6 unrelated persons is the maximum.
All right. So we're basically looking at possibly up to 30 people living across those 2 parcels with the standard zoning controls, standard setbacks, or possible up to 30 people living across those 2 parcels with the setback commitments that we're looking at. It's just they'd be scattered amongst more buildings, 5 versus 9. Yeah.
Yes.
Am I
and it would be-
miscognizing this?
It would be subject to the setbacks of the RE district.
Okay.
Which is not 200 feet to the rear. It's 20, 15 sides, 25 front.
Okay.
That's for each lot that's created. Have to go through the plating process, site plan review, things like that.
Understood. I'm just wanting to make sure that, again, devoid of the kind that there's been a lot of talk about that, and, Pinellas, I hope is and feel should be a welcoming home to all kinds of people who want to live here and abide by our laws. But just looking at it from a zoning perspective and what is vested on the property versus what's being asked for, to compare apples to apples within our code. That's why I asked that question. And Mr. Cueva, the only reason I asked the question about you is because it is my hope that this will be the last time this comes before our dais. If consensus cannot be achieved for the public, hopefully at least there can be certainty achieved for our citizens. All right. Do we have any discussion amongst the board members? All right, then at this time, I will entertain a motion.
Let's make a motion for denial of such requests.
Motion for denial by Cueva, second by Cataldo.
Madam Chair, if just, I would ask for findings of fact, if there are motions for, either way, for the zoning case. Just findings, basis for the motion. Need to be stated for the
Thank you, Council McAteer. Mr. Cueva, what are the findings of facts that are the basis?
With regard to the zoning portion of this request, I find that I believe it's inconsistent with other zoning patterns in the area. I find no other multifamily residential zoning district is stated within 1/3 of a mile of this property. I believe that this will change the immediate character of this area. I think possibly could lead to future requests for multifamily along this corridor. And I believe that that's inconsistent with board's previous policies for this area that were discussed at the last hearing, where the board indicated to residents out there that what they have, in a sense, the estate zoning district would be the predominant zoning to remain in this area. Also, that the office designation to the west is the transitional portion of this request, not this multifamily proposal.
And just as a follow-up, we have two votes. We've got the future land use and we've got the zoning. And most importantly, those, because of the quasi-judicial nature of the zoning and the competent substantial evidence standard that it applies therein, it would need to be stated twice or somehow otherwise referenced so that the record's clear. I know it's tough, but we're doing two cases back to back, so he may have to do it twice. So,
Understood.
yeah.
So
your motion as to FLU 23-03.
the land use portion of this request?
Correct.
Okay. He's saying I need to restate what I stated at the last hearing, pretty much?
No, what I'm saying is findings of fact as to the zoning. We're going to vote on two cases today. However you vote, however the board votes, which is none of the attorney's business, except that the findings of fact need to be clear on the record. I think helpfully for both, especially the zoning, but might as well do them for both. And so I know it's a bit tedious, but given the nature of this case, that's my request.
And I plan to abide in it. So you're going to have to state your findings of fact for, if you make two motions, you'll have to do it for each motion. But right now, we're working on the future land use motion.
Okay, the future land use request, I believe is, I believe there's no compelling basis to amend the request. That the residential suburban land use has been in place for many years, no contesting over the years. It's been found to be competent and in place properly. I have found no basis to amend that based on this request. And again, I believe that if this is amended, it could set precedent for future requests to increase the density in the area along Park Boulevard, which I object to as well.
All right. We have a motion. Mr. Cataldo, do you maintain your second?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for denial of recommendation of denial of FLU 23-03. All,
discussion.
yes.
Looking at it, I think, just on the land use side, we have very limited availability of affordable housing, especially for the population they plan to house. Our plan asks us to consider freedom of choice of where people can live. We don't have much availability for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We don't have many places that we could do this. I think the applicant has been very accommodating on how to design this, make it possible, move it all to one end of the property with the least disruption available to the nearby residents. And I think they're willing to, when we get to the zoning part, if that were to get approved, then they're willing to lock that in. And I think that the population they're looking to make housing available for is in very short supply, restricting the freedom of access of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we need to make room for that. And I think the amendment they're asking for, I think is consistent when we look at things like freedom of access and freedom of choice of where housing is, especially when you consider the very limited availability of that type of housing that would be affordable for those people who meet that criteria.
All right. Any other discussion on the motion to recommend denial of FLU 23-03? All right. Madam Clerk, I'm anticipating that we're going to have a split vote. Do you want to do a roll call?
Sure.
Then please call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Coleman, how do you vote?
Nay.
Mr. Caldwell, how do you vote?
I have a question.
Yes.
To vote for denial, is that a yay or a nay?
So I think we should say for or against.
Okay.
Okay? I think that'll make it easier. So the question is whether you are for or in support of the motion to recommend denial or against the motion to recommend denial.
I am for denial.
One moment, since we had a yay and we had a nay before. Board Member Coleman, what was your intent to vote?
Against.
Okay.
For denial.
Against.
Against denial.
Against.
For denial.
Against denial.
All right. The motion fails. Do we have any other motions brought before the dais?
I move that we find the future land use amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommend approval of the proposal.
Second.
Here we have a motion by Cooley, a second by Board Member Laurie Johnson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Coleman?
In favor. What was the term?
Yes, for.
For.
Okay.
Against.
Against.
For.
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 Against.
For approval.
All right. The motion to recommend approval of FLU 23-03 passes. We'll now take up any final discussion on ZON 23-03 before entertaining a motion. Is there any final thoughts on ZON 23-03?
Question.
Yes.
When we've talked about the sort of the two parcels together, and I know we have the subject property, which I guess is two parcels, I guess, in and of itself, but the one next door that they own as well. And when we've talked about the ability to, how many units could be on the whole thing together, I'm just wondering if there's any ability or desire to restrict what would happen to the entirety of that area as sort of a development, so to speak. I know the development agreement that's in the packet sort of speaks to this parcel, but I think it's also responsible to look at limiting what could happen, as you start to move out and affect other neighbors potentially.
I'm going to defer to Council McAteer and Mr. Bailey. I know that.
I understand the question. We're talking about lands outside what's described in the development agreement, which is part and parcel with this application and this rezoning.
Correct.
We can't reach farther out. The lines apply to the application. We can't reach farther out to the adjacent parcels.
All right.
It's not within the purview of this application. It's not before the board.
So let me ask it a different way then. So if we were to approve the zoning request, then you could make changes, do what they essentially want to do with the development agreement on this parcel that's in front of us today. They could come back and desire to do something with the adjacent parcel that they own that could be similar, correct? To adjust, look for an adjustment to the land use and then change the zoning, essentially.
They would have that right.
They would, yeah. I mean, that's a separate application.
Separate application, separate process, yes.
I was just wondering if there's a way to limit that since they're together. I hear the answer is no.
All right. We have any other discussion on this application? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion. All right. Anyone willing to make a motion on application ZON 23-03?
I move we approve case number ZON 23-03.
Second.
We have a motion from Coleman, a second.
Can I get a
from-
clarification on the motion that's consistent with the staff report and the contents therein?
Thank you. What is the,
The findings of fact issue again, just to make sure these, I just want really clear motions on this. Thank you, sir.
I move in favor of staff and the applicant for the case ZON 23-03 because it meets the zoning atlas development agreement to commissioners based on the report subject to the land use.
So, consistent with the staff report? I'm just asking for clarification. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I'm just making, it's important for the record. I just want to make sure.
Right. Yeah, we find that the proposed zoning atlas amendment and development agreement consistent with the Pinellas County Comprehensive Plan based on this report and subject to the future land use map amendment case FLU 23-03.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
all right. Motion from Coleman, second from Board Member Laurie Johnson. Madam, any final discussion on this motion before we call the roll? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Coleman?
Aye.
Nay.
Mr. Cooley?
In favor?
Mr. John?
For the motion.
Ms. Johnson?
Four.
Against?
Four.
Okay. Motion passes. All right. Before we adjourn, is there anything that that staff needs to bring up to the board?
Oh, yes, well, a minor issue. We have a sunshine law and public meeting law update that will be at the end of the meeting, end of the agenda for the next, in the October meeting. So that will be in your packets.
All right.
That material will be in your packet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council.
2 zoning cases next month, so it'll be after that.
Sure, yeah, it's at the end.
All right.
Lawyer goes last.
Well, thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your morning this morning. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Board Member Laurie Johnson, second.
Second.
Second by Cataldo. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes unanimously.